So, hello everyone, welcome to our student panel today. I'm excited to have a conversation with students on their K through 12 student experience. I want to first introduce you to the panel. We have Emma, and she's a student at the University of Arizona working with the Pima County Health Department as an advisor for the Pima County Autism Project. She's studying bioarchaeology and will graduate in 2022. Rosanna is a Finnish national studying government and economics at Harvard as part of the class of 2024. Ultimately, she got into autism advocacy through her older brother who is autistic. But later she realized her own autistic traits and is currently waiting for a diagnosis assessment. She will be co-founding an autism advocacy organization at Harvard this coming fall and has, for example, written for the Harvard Political Review and media representation of autistic women. Aiden is an 11th grader at Intermountain Academy in Tucson, Arizona. He enjoys all things technology, interior decorating, and being with his friends and family. Aiden's dream is to be an architect or real estate agent. He is passionate about helping others understand autism and how that makes people special and unique. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today, and I'll get started with the first question. Can you please share with us what type of school setting you grew up in? And how did that school setting support you or could have been more supportive? Emma, we can start with you.
So I grew up in a pretty normal public school, K through 12, in Washington. And I didn't get my diagnosis till my senior year of high school. So I grew up, I was in a couple of the advanced programs in my grade schools for kids who scored high on this test. And I think besides those couple days a week where I was bussed off to another school with the rest of those kids, it was a pretty overwhelming experience. I remember not really feeling like I fit in and not really knowing where I should go unless I was in that kind of classroom setting where I had all that extra support. So I think I was very lucky and very privileged to even have that opportunity where I could go off and have those couple days where I felt like I had somewhere to go.
How about you, Rosanna?
Yeah, I mean, my experience is probably very different because I grew up in Finland and I went to the public school system here, which you may know that it's like the best in the world or something. So I would say it was quite good. I would say also the culture here, like, and probably talk more about later, but of course I grew up here, so I'm kind of the product of Finland, so it's difficult to analyze just like myself, to do it myself. But I would say the school system, for me at least personally, was quite supportive overall. I would say, because my high school, for example, my class was about 140 people, and that's considered a very big school. And if I've understood correctly, it's like in the US, the classes can be huge. So obviously, I would say it's very different, the culture here with school system, that we didn't really have, we didn't have any like advanced classes for anybody. So everyone did their same thing, but it didn't really feel bad. So I would say for me, the Finnish school system was quite supportive.
How about you, Aiden?
So I had two. First was the traditional, and then it was I moved to school with only autistic kids. The traditional was hard because they didn't understand, and they could have extra support. This school is better because I get more support and they have more patience. It's just feels better at this school. I didn't feel like I really fit in at the other schools. I always felt different.
Thank you, Aiden. So I'd like to talk about relationships. How are your relationships with students and teachers different from other students? Go ahead, Emma.
So this one I kind of had to think about for the teacher aspect, and I think I had two extremes. So if there was a teacher that I really got along well with and kind of knew me and could support me in a classroom setting, I kind of just like glommed onto them and would kind of treat them as like a school mom. But if there was a teacher that just really kind of couldn't stand the way that I was in class, or if I was stimming or distracting other students with that, it was kind of horrible. They just didn't get it and weren't. And again, I didn't have a diagnosis in my senior year of high school, so there wasn't any paperwork or therapy appointments or anything that I could say to, this is why I am the way that I am. So people just kind of thought I was annoying. And with students, I think it was just very hard to find a niche group of people that were kind of my people. That didn't really happen until later in life. So I think grade school and middle school and the first couple of years of high school were hard to find people who related to me in any way.
How about you, Rosanna?
Yeah, I would say this is also a very difficult question for me to answer, also because of like the cultural aspect I grew up in. So that's also why I guess my diagnosis was so delayed, that I just thought that this is like, I'm just so into this culture that I'm no different than the others. But anyway, so yeah, I would say with that, like the relationships were not, I don't think much different than for the others, because for example, the teacher relationship is not something that you really kind of care about here, because for example, you don't have to ask for a letter of recommendations literally ever. So you don't have to think that I need to have that good relationship with this teacher in order to like thrive or anything. So no one really cares. So then for me, sometimes it felt very fake that I was trying to build this relationship with teachers, because I knew I would have to, for Harvard, ask for some letter of recommendations. That felt so fake to me in a sense. So that was, I guess, that I had to do that I felt different. But also, yeah, the cultural, because the relationship are something that are not really it's not really a key aspect in Finland to have. I mean, it's, of course, I'm not saying like nobody has friends and nobody does anything, but then it's like a very different culture that you have your own group, but you don't have to really, you're not that pressurized to get along with everybody, because people just basically, they go to school for the class and then they go home, do what they want. We don't have extracurricular clubs or anything at the school. So yeah, I think that hopefully answers something.
No, it does. Okay, Aiden. If you want to go ahead and answer that question about relationships, and how were your relationships with students and teachers different from other students?
I mean, at the new school, it's easier. I feel like they're more like a teacher mom. They're easier to get along with. The other school I never tried. I didn't feel like I needed to, or I never wanted to. And so, yeah, I just never tried it at my own school. In the new school, it's easier. And also students, I feel more closer to the students there.
That's great. Thank you, Aiden. It sounds to me like you just need friends and people that have compassion and understand you, despite our differences and uniquenesses. And really, that may be challenging to find in some places.
Yes.
All right, so I will start with the next question. Do you get sensory overload in school environments? And what coping skills do you use to help you when feeling overwhelmed? Emma.
I think the biggest issue for me in school was lunchtime in like the common area cafeteria. And I figured out around 8th grade, I would kind of find that one teacher that was like my school mom, and I would just eat in their classroom with them and a couple friends if they wanted to join me. So that was kind of something that I figured out that helped then. But I mean, even in assemblies, you just have that moment where you just kind of tune in, and then everything is happening all at once, and you can hear everything and feel the seat beneath you and the air conditioning on your skin. And so I think I always thought I was having anxiety attacks. I didn't really know what sensory overload was, so I always thought that I was just having an anxiety attack and just needed to leave, and so that's what I would just communicate to teachers. I think what triggered my actual diagnosis was I have a peanut allergy, and a student in front of me was eating a granola bar that had peanuts in it, and I asked her, I was like, hey, I get headaches, can you put that away? And she didn't. And then it just kind of, I had one of those moments where I got up and I just ran out of the classroom, and then I was like, okay, this is something bigger that needs to be talked about. But I think just I had the ability to remove myself from those situations, and I know a lot of people don't. So, but that's what worked for me, was just leaving.
How about you, Rosanna?
Yeah, I need to think. Actually, I had a gap here. So the last time I've had in-person school was like 2019 spring. So it's been a while. But what I remember is that especially what we had, this kind of Finnish school traditions, would we have the whole class together in a party or something, and I knew instantly that I would not enjoy it. So I wasn't scared to say no, which was that was probably the best thing that I've ever done, that learned to say no, not to go there, because I knew that I would just go crazy there and I would hate it there. So I would say I was always the friend who never went anywhere with the rest of the group, but that was fine because that's what I needed, and no regrets.
Thank you. Aiden, how about you? Did you get sensory overload in school environments, and what coping skills did you use to help you when you felt overwhelmed?
I never had sensory overloads. I mean, I would just take deep breaths in traditional schools when I needed them. Or I would also just, like, in lunchroom, I would never eat in lunchroom when I was in, like, 7th grade. I would say find that one teacher and just eat with her and grab being a couple of friends that also bring a couple of friends that they wanted to. Assemblies, I never minded. I guess it would get too close. I know it gets too close to other people. Never really had any sensory overloads, really, though.
Brandon, how about you?
All the time. As a matter of fact, more so when I was younger and didn't know exactly what it was I had. Usually around big crowds or a lot of people. So I spent a lot of my times at lunch and at recess just walking along the fence, reciting my favorite Mia films and such. So interacting with people was very scary.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
So I'd love to know what your future aspirations are. I'll start with Emma.
As of right now, the 2-year plan is to do grad school abroad for bioarc. I think being a forensic anthropologist has always been a dream, so hopefully that pans out. And I think this project was a very big future aspiration. Just being able to talk proudly and sit in my own skin in rooms like this, in situations like this, and be able to just tell my story and kind of make people listen when they weren't listening before. So this is really cool.
Rosanna?
Yeah, I guess my current aspiration is to graduate, first of all, because that's still 3 years away, so a lot of things can happen. But yeah, I would say very short-term goal is just to manage to move abroad to the US and then manage there, because it's obviously probably the biggest challenges I've had to face so far in my life. It's the biggest change ever. So I would say just manage school abroad, and then I will see.
Aiden, what about you? What are future aspirations?
Graduate high school course and go to college, and then just be more independent on my own.
And Brandon, what does that look like for you?
My future aspirations, I'm sort of living in them right now, being an advocate in the autism community, being a political activist in my own right. And that looks like many different ways. For example, I'm a secretary of the Young Democrats Task Force, which is ran and operated by the Pima County Democratic Party. I will be running for state senate in the not too distant future. So public service, being an advocate, and inspiring others to live their lives authentically, while that people on the spectrum and those of color like myself that have to face while going through school, so that they don't have to suffer through it ever again, because it's pretty awful. So inspire people to be okay with themselves and their diagnosis, and hopefully leave something behind for them.
Yeah, Brandon, you're paving the way for others so that their experience can be a little bit different. And you might have had to do the work for it, but you're going to be an inspiration for a lot of people out there, and hopefully make this experience better when they do receive a diagnosis.
I think you get there. Someone reached out to me before on Instagram to say that I was inspiration and strong. But I told them that you get there by having to endure quite a few scars along the way, and you don't. So you just got to keep. You have to have the audacity to hope for a new day and a brighter day, and it should all work out.
Yeah, that's so great. My next question is, what do you want others to be more aware of in regards to autism? Emma, go ahead and start.
I think the biggest thing that we've talked about before is just my biggest struggle personally was the sensory thing. It was because when you're in the middle of it, it's, first of all, maybe just the awareness for other people to be aware of it, because when you're in the middle of something like that, you can't really communicate. Like you're not all there. You can't say, this is what I need right now, and this is what I need from you. So I think just having that awareness for other people of what to do in those situations is really important. You know, it's not about just like swooping them up in a hug and saying everything will be fine. Like that's kind of the exact opposite of what those people need in that moment. And I think respect. I think just respect from the peers.
Rosanna, go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with Emma. And then also just, I guess, as an autistic woman who was kind of overlooked because of my brother, I would just say that autism is so, well, it's a spectrum. So it's not like, yeah, go see Rain Man and now you know what autism is. It's really like a spectrum. So it's not just this stereotype. And because I'm really in the beginning of my autism journey, but I'm very prepared for people being like, how can you be autistic? You don't look like that, or you don't seem like that, or you don't sound like that. And I would be like, yeah, that's not true. So I would say, I guess, just to understand that there's no one type of autism only. That's, I think, the most important thing that others should realize.
What about you, Aiden?
Just saying that it's not like a disability, it's more of an ability. You just need some help along the way. And once in a while, it gets hard, but then after a while it gets just easier and easier.
Brandon?
There's a few things that I think the world could benefit from knowing about people with autism. The first is patience. For myself, social cues don't come easy at all or natural. I don't pick up on them. And sometimes, my brain is wired very logically. So in emotional issues or problems and scenarios, I have trouble giving an emotional response or solution for it. I have a more logical black and white view. So it requires patience for those closest to us. Be patient that we're not trying to be sympathetic to people's situations. It takes us a while to fully understand the emotional side to things. The second also is you don't have to talk in some cases, maybe down the spectrum people are, but most of the times we're very smart, very mature, may speak differently or have different behaviors, but you could treat us just the same like adults. And like Rosanna said, you can't watch Rain Man or like the movie Radio and think, oh, that's exactly what it's like. It's a spectrum. And I may be high functioning and all, but life's a struggle. Day-to-day interactions can be hard, so you just got to be patient, I think, above all else.
Thank you, Brandon. So it sounds like, we could all really be more patient, be more empathetic, and just understand that people may just, have differences, whether their lenses of the world, maybe be more black and white, and respond, just help them understand things a little bit more compassionately, and that we're all different, and that we all have to just really work with each other's differences, and that autism doesn't look one way. It can, look differently for everyone, and just be more empathetic and understanding when we do come into contact, and make space for those autistic individuals in our community, wherever they are, and just be a friend.
Just, to reiterate, it's not that the compassion's not there. It's just we have our own ways of showing it. So it might sound rude or very emotionally detached, but there is some compassion there too, and you just have to be willing to interpret it a different way. It's like being an alien on a different planet. You have to be willing to learn the language and get used to the behaviors.
That's really good. That's really good.
That's my analogy, at least.
Yeah. And the last question is, what are your goals for the autistic community in the coming years? Emma.
I think obviously just the awareness and advocacy, but I think the biggest thing is just more spaces like this, kind of more for autistic people by autistic people, I think there's been a lot of the world telling autistic people who they are and what they're capable of, and I think it's really important to hear more autistic voices saying who they are and what they are capable of.
How about you, Rosanna?
Yeah, I agree with what Emma said, and also I guess my goal for the community is to get bigger, in the sense that people who would realize that they might have autism, because I also kind of found out by an accident, and then it's weird when some people say that we have this like autism epidemic going on or something, or like thinking like what's causing more autism, but I think it's just that people accepting it more, that they can have autism, that it's not horrible to have the diagnosis, and then seeking for it if you feel like you have the need. So I guess that's just that people would not be afraid of being in the community, I guess, and accepting awareness. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Great. How about you, Aiden?
Again, it doesn't really reflect on who people are when they have it. Just a different ability, just need some more accommodations. Like, again, with the kids I'm working with, some of them need more accommodations, some of them need different accommodations than others. Some of them just need a little bit help on the way. But that's pretty much just it.
What about you, Brandon?
For the autism community as a whole, there's quite a few things I would love to see done in the very near future. First, speaking of education, I think it's great that we have Intermountain Academy and such places, but we shouldn't have to rely, I think, on should also step up its game and really have sensitivity training and really focusing on making sure that as much as possible, all staff. I would also like to see that the community see more love for themselves and from others. Unfortunately, like I said, when people see it as a bad thing, something wrong with you. So hopefully that will change. First person that I'm aware of here in Arizona that's on the spectrum, running for office, involved in politics, being leaders and advocates in the community. I hope to see more people like it, and hopefully not to be the last.
So Brandon, I just want to summarize what you said. So you'd like to see it, more education, more schooling options, sensitivity training, see more love in the community, and more leaders taking the type of roles that you are in politics and within our community. I just want to make sure I got all of that.
Exactly right.
Right.
And just like I said, making sure that they love themselves. Away and hidden.
Oh, you all are wonderful. That's it. That's all my questions. And you did a tremendous job. And I wish we were all in the same room right now. So thank you. Rosanna, you can go to bed. And thank you for holding this space with me and sharing your story. And I don't want it to be the last, group that we're doing. I just really, we need more of this. And I am so honored to have had the time with you. And this won't be our last time together. And thank you for, sharing your voices with others. That could help a teacher, maybe sit with a couple more kids at lunch, and really reach out in those moments where it can get hard during an assembly. It might be overwhelming, and to just really look at the world in a different way from a unique perspective and see what challenges might arise for some individuals and how to help them navigate that through. And I'm glad there's places like Intermountain Centers and that, made a place, for Aiden, as he was talking about, and Brandon, that, really understand the autism community and can really shape those for the future. So Brandon, it's great what you're doing in the political community, and I'm so proud of you, and thank you for this time together, and good luck on your journey. I can't wait to see what you all are going to do next, so thank you.